good evening, friends. My name is Omar Harami, and I'm part of the Sabil family and the Kumi team. Thank you for joining us for the 13th Kumi Now online gathering. Before we begin, we have a few housekeeping points to cover so that this session can run as smoothly as possible. 1. This session is being broadcasted live on Facebook. If you do not wish to appear, please turn off your video feed. We would also love it if you would quickly share the Facebook post on Facebook so that others may join. We will also be muting everyone during the session, except those speaking. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand option under participants or indicate in the chat to Kumi team. Individuals will not be able to unmute themselves. If you wish to ask a question to the speakers, please type it into the chat box. When it comes to the question and answer time, we will use questions shared in the chat. If you have any technical issues, please use the chat to message Kumi team privately, and we will try our best to help you with them. We hope that you will find this session interesting and informative. I'd like to start by having everyone you'll be seeing today introduce themselves. Faten?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm very proud to be here with you today. My name is Faten Nastas Mitwasi. I am an artist. I usually do installation art. I participated in several exhibitions locally and internationally. And besides, I'm also the head of the graphic design and applied arts programs at the International Center at the Dar al Kalima University College of Arts and Culture.
Thank you, Faten. Ibrahim?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ibrahim Handal, a graduate student from film program at Dar al Kalima. I'm a filmmaker and a cinematographer.
Thank you, Faten and Ibrahim. First, I'd like to everyone know that the registration for our September online gathering is now open. I'll remind you again at the end of the session, but you can take a note now and please head to Kumi Now online after the gathering to register for the next month. There will be information provided in the chat box. So today's topic is interesting, extremely interesting. Most of the Kumi Now weeks focus on a specific challenge or injustice faced by Palestinians. But today we take a step back and look at the questions of how do we respond to injustice. Kumi Now doesn't pretend to have all the answers. That is why we work with other organizations that believe in nonviolence and international law. By having these discussions, we hope to come up with new ways to take actions to address these issues. Dar al Kalima believes and acts on the belief that one way to resist injustice is through art. With all that in mind, today we will hear from Faten, Nastas Mitwasi, and Ibrahim Handal from Dar al Kalima University. But first, I'd like to give you an update on what's going on the ground. I will be in Palestine and Israel. I will be trying to be as precise as possible. So if you give me a second, I'm trying to share my screen. So I hope you all see my screen. There has been lots of stuff happening in Palestine and Israel in the last week. First, a very short update on the COVID-19. Cases continue to be around 2,000 cases in both Palestine and Israel on a daily basis, with an average death rate of around 15 people. Today, there were, in the last 24 hours, there were 4 cases of COVID-19 cases that were found inside Gaza. There were some cases beforehand found in Gaza, but they were on people who were traveling abroad and trying to get back into Gaza, and they were forced to go into quarantine. These were the first 4 cases that were found inside Gaza. So there's lots of panic in Gaza, and people, especially with the limited healthcare that is provided. The second part is that in Jerusalem, the nightmare of home demolitions continued to haunt us. According to the last study made, there are around 18,000 homes under the threat of home demolition in Jerusalem alone. This is very important to a small city of East Jerusalem, especially that we are still in need of another 15,000 homes to deal with the population growth. Since the beginning of the year, there has been over 650 cases of home demolition orders. A small percentage has been acted upon, but the threat is growing. In Gaza, for the first time, the Gaza municipality found a stray dog, and the dog was only a three-legged dog. And in the Gaza municipality artificial limb center installed a prosthetic limb for the dog with that had an amputated leg. So this was something very exciting in Gaza. Usually we do not hear good news coming out of Gaza, but this was something that I would like to share with you. Unfortunately, last week there was a very disturbing incident inside Israel. A 16-year-old girl, an Israeli girl, was raped by around 30 people while she was on vacation in Eilat. This was really shocking. Gang rapes do not happen usually in Palestine or Israel, but this was something that really shocked the entire community, both Palestinians and Israeli. But the very sad story, there were also, the group also shared some photos online, and it was, videos. So it was something that has really shocked both Palestinians and Israelis. Many of you have heard about the news that there are peace treaties being, there was a peace treaty that was signed by the United Arab Emirates, or a peace understanding, and Israel. This came as a shock to us Palestinians, especially that peace treaties are happening in the Arab world without really solving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Today, there was also in the news a story about the first flight or delegation that left Israel to go to Sudan. There are rumors that Iraq might be also signing a peace treaty, Oman, Bahrain, Morocco. So this has been unprecedented, and we as Palestinians are really looking with amusement and fear, because we feel a part of not really receiving any help or lots of help from our Arab neighbors. We feel that we are also that the Trump deal is being implemented, creating lots of disappointment, especially that we continue to live under occupation. I would like also to ask for your prayers. There are two sad stories. On the left, Dana Saleh is a young engineer student. She's very active with the Catholic group. She got in a very serious car accident. She is in the hospital and she's not doing well. So we ask you to hold her in her prayers, and her family. May she recover. Also, some of you might know Father Firas Hijazin. Father Firas Hijazin has served, he's a Franciscan priest. He has served in Jerusalem, in Jericho, and in different parts of the Holy Land. He was last year he was serving in Syria, and he is in Jordan at the moment in a very bad health condition, as he has coronavirus and he is not doing very well. So please hold both of them in your prayers. So I'm trying to. So thank you for listening to me. I would also like now to move to our topic and to our subject. So I move things to Faten Nastas Mitwasi to present to us the amazing work of Dar al Kalima, and to cover the topic of art as resistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar, for your very nice introduction and putting us really on the ground, knowing what's going on. I will talk more about art, and I will also like to share a PowerPoint to show you some of the artworks. Um, so I hope you all see it now. I like, first of all, to stress that arts and crafts making is very rooted and part of the culture in Palestine since thousands of years. We all know that the first city in the world was established in Jericho, where people gathered, settled, and started building houses and practicing various arts and handicrafts. Archaeologists approved and told us that our ancestors were sculptors. They carved stones like this sculpture, which is more than 10,000 years old. It was found actually in a cave to the east of Bethlehem. They also were able to shape ceramics to decorate clay and to fire pottery, actually. And they produced jewelry, they produced a lot of arts, artifacts, handicrafts, but all the time, all that was produced in this area, in Palestine, in this land, was always named after the ruling empires and the people who lived here, whether they were the Natufians, the Philistines, the Canaanite, and then the Roman, because we were part of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, or even the Islamic world. So this is the Dome of the Rock. It was, and it is still in Jerusalem. It was made by the local inhabitants of Jerusalem, but it's part of the history of the Islamic art. The history of Pakistan is really a long history. It developed thousands of years and was always inspired by the local scene, the landscape, and also was inspired by the international visitors who came to the land, either as visitors, as pilgrims, or as invaders. Actually, maybe we can say that the first aspects of art as resistance can be described that it started with the 19th century, because the middle of the 19th century, the country Palestine, together with the neighboring countries like in Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, we witnessed what is called the Arab National Awakening. Around the end of the 19th century, we were towards the end of the Ottoman Empire. And people started realizing and differentiating between actually the nationalities. And they started being aware of the Arab nationality. So they started highlighting their Arab nationality through, of course, writings, political waves, but also through art. What we see here is actually an icon painted by what we call the Jerusalem School of Icon Painting. So artists, even those artists who were doing religious art, they also started doing religious Arabic art. This icon, maybe, I don't know if you can recognize, but it is having Arabic writing instead of Greek or Russian or Latin fonts. And it is really having a special style. It's not Byzantine, not Russian, and not Latin style. Furthermore, artists starting what I call, they started painting local icon scenes. This is the flight to Egypt. But the artist here, in this case, it's Nicolas Sayer at the beginning of the 20th century. He started painting the Virgin Mary, Joseph, and Jesus as the Palestinian used to look like and as they used to dress. So this is a kind of a contextual icon, actually, showing the Palestinian landscape scene. And art has always been connected to the context and to the everyday news. So when we are talking about the beginning of the 20th century, it is really the end of the Ottoman Empire, the beginning of the British Mandate, and it is also when the Zionist movement starting heavily immigration I would say, immigration campaigns to bring Jewish Zionists to Palestine. And the art of resistance, of course, maybe reached its peak after the Israeli occupation, after Al-Nakba, and also after Al-Naksa. Al-Nakba, we are talking about 1948, and Al-Naksa is 1967. And these are two paintings painted by Sliman Mansour, one of the leader artists. Is one of the pioneers after, especially Al-Naksa, after 67. And we see that art here is not only about beauty or even about the landscape, but it's more symbolic. It's more representing even the identity of the Palestinians and trying to express the story of the Palestinians and its rootedness with the land. And it really became very symbolic, like this painting here, and I like to show it directly after this one, because this is the flight to Egypt, and it is still like a landscape showing, representing the story. But here, this is the flight to Egypt, where we see the Virgin Mary really still dressed as a Palestinian woman, carrying Jesus Christ, the child, but in a very contemporary context of the refugees, the Palestinian refugees after 48 and then after 67, they were sent. Maybe here this can remind us of the 3 pyramids of Egypt, but it also can refer to the refugee camps, the tents of the camps. Here we see the UN relief with the loaf of bread. So here the artist is really combining our history, connecting it even with the story of Jesus Christ, who fled to Egypt, escaping from the Roman occupation and from the Roman Empire at that time. And we are talking about the time of Jesus Christ, and comparing it with the contemporary situation of the Palestinians. This is very much an resisting painting that is trying to, again, connect us to our history, but also to communicate with the international world who knows well the story of Jesus Christ. So it's like comparing really between the Palestinian contemporary story and the historical story. The painting we see to the left is also the peasant, because the majority of the Palestinians were peasants before the 1948, and the peasants is the person who is the most connected to the land, but also he's the person who's carrying Jerusalem on his shoulders, and this is also like saying that we will take care of Jerusalem and we will fight until we liberate it. This is another painting by Rahman Al-Muzayan, an artist from Gaza, actually, also referring to historic symbols, the goddess of our ancestors, the Canaanites. This woman is not just a peasant woman, she's more like a goddess dressed in a nice dress full with embroidery, carrying the people on her shoulder and the Dome of the Rock. So actually, art in the 70s and 80s was really described as the art of resistance or the liberation art of Palestine for many reasons. One of them is what I spoke about, is that the artists, they wanted to join the people in fighting against the occupation through their art. So they were painting and producing art that is very much expressing the identity of the people, the rootedness to the land, and the connection with our long history on this land. But also artists were persecuted by the Israeli occupation authority. Many artists were in the prison for several times. Many of the artwork was confiscated. And there was even a rule that painting with green red, white, black, and these are the colors of the Palestinian flag, these colors were forbidden for artists to paint with. And of course, art schools were not allowed to open its doors, as art education was also considered as a threatening to the Israeli occupation. But we all know that in 1993, we moved into a new era. I call it a new even lifestyle in Palestine. And this was due to the Oslo Accords, the agreement signed by the Palestinian and the Israelis. And I believe that after the Oslo Accords, our resistance is through the existence. This was actually a mural painting painted on the segregation wall on 2004. But when I saw this motto and this image on the wall, I thought that this is really maybe our new way to go after the Oslo Accord, because we are still resisting, but in a different way. Now our existence is how we resist. So saying this, actually, I will go into how we moved from having art as a forbidden tool to really now, after the Oslo Agreement and with having the Palestinian Authority, we were able to establish cultural centers, and we were able also to establish higher education and to open a university that is dedicated for art and culture. So the beginnings were actually in 1995 by the establishment of the International Center of Bethlehem in the city center of Bethlehem. The location was very important actually, because being in the city center gave us approach to the community. And in 1998, the cave, or Al-Kahf Arts and Crafts Center, was established. The aim of Al-Kahf was to revive the local community's sense of beauty, strengthen Palestinian cultural identity, and cultivate local artistic talent. And we started doing this by offering handicrafts workshops to train the local young people. As you see, women and men together, we started training them with traditional handicrafts that were either dying out or were becoming like old-fashioned. So the idea was to retrain these young people, to equip them with the skills to do these handicrafts, but also to upgrade them with new designs to meet the needs of the contemporary market. So we have workshops. Then we also established a gift shop, and the gift shop nowadays is online, so people can go and purchase these handicrafts either by visiting the cave gift shop or by online. And we also had the gallery, and actually the cave gallery was the first gallery to open in Bethlehem on December 99. Through this gallery, we tried to encourage lots of the young Palestinian artists, and many of them, we are proud that they are today world famous artists, like Steve Sabella, you see here at the bottom of the image. He had his first solo exhibition at the Cave Gallery in 2004. Today he is living in Berlin, and he is one of the world famous Palestinian artists. The same is with Larissa Sansour. She did not have the first solo exhibition at the Cave. She was already doing some exhibitions abroad, because after the first Intifada, she moved with her family to live in the United States. But we were proud to host her in 2006. And today she is also one of the leading Palestinian artists. Also, in addition to promoting and encouraging young Palestinian artists, of course, we hosted international artists, either Palestinian or just international friends. Samia Halabi was among them, Mary Tuma, and many, many others. Through these invitations or through hosting these artists, we always had workshops and meeting with the local communities. And this is actually the painting I showed you a little while ago. To exist is to resist. And this was part of a project that we organized in 2004. And this was the first mural paintings to be done on the segregation wall. And the project was called Defacing the Wall. We hosted 3 Mexican muralists, painters who are specialists in painting huge paintings, mural paintings. The 3 Mexican artists worked with our students and they worked with our local community. They prepared the paintings, they prepared the materials and all what was needed, and then they went to paint on the wall in various places, in Bethlehem, Abu Di, School Karem. After that, we were happy that local artists as well as international artists were daring, and many of them came and continued defacing the wall until today. And maybe many of you know that Banksy also came and painted on the wall after this activity we did at Bethlehem. The program was very successful, and many of the graduates, and at that time we were still working as a cultural center. The courses that we used to offer were short courses, like 3-month courses, to even some of them were a year, 1-year courses. But the graduates were really very successful, and they started working either by producing arts, producing handicrafts and selling them, or even as art teachers. And this encouraged us, of course, to establish Dar al Kalima University College. We received the accreditation in 2006 as a higher education institution. So we started in 2006 actually with 2 diploma programs. Diploma programs are a 2-year educational programs, and the first 2 programs were documentary filmmaking and glass and ceramic. And the university started actually at the city center of Bethlehem in the old building that it belongs to the Lutheran Church in Palestine. Then we were able to fundraise and to construct what you see here. This was the first building. And then in 2010, 2011, we were having this compound, what we like to call a city on the mountain. And we moved to the city on the mountain actually fully in 2011. Then the university college got a second accreditation from the Ministry of Higher Education in Palestine in 2013, and we became a university college, meaning that from 2013, we were able to offer bachelor degree programs, and these are 4-year programs, also in the fields of art and culture. The person you see here is actually our president. Our president is Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb. He was also a key person in establishing Dar al Kalima, and he is still the president of Dar al Kalima. And actually, I'd like to show you some students' life, some images showing the students' life at Dar al Kalima. These are recent photos. And I'm proud to tell you that today we offer bachelor degree in contemporary art, in filmmaking, in graphic design, in interior design, in design, in theater and music, and in tourism. We also offer diploma degrees in tourism, in art education, in glass and ceramic, in jewelry, and in documentary filmmaking. And every bachelor degree has actually a track. We encourage the students to go in the track where they find themselves. Students come actually from all over Palestine. The majority of them, they come from the Bethlehem Governorate, the Hebron Governorate, and Jerusalem. But we also have a good number who comes from Ramallah Governorate and the north, and from villages, and some students even from Nazareth and the north of Palestine. Of course, students, for example, from Nazareth or the north of the West Bank, when they come, they have to find a place to stay in Bethlehem because it's difficult to pass the checkpoints every day. But students from Jerusalem or the Hebron area, usually they come and leave every day. Now in the new facilities, of course, we still have exhibitions, film screenings. We care a lot about projects, and here as actually you see the exhibition of a competition that we run every year. Dar al Kalima runs actually 2 art competitions. One is Ismail Shammout Award and competition for paintings. And the second one is Karime Aboud Photography Competition and Award. The aims of these programs and competition is really not only to encourage our students and graduates, but to reach out to the young talents in Palestine in general, and sometimes even Palestinians from the diaspora participate in these competitions, and they might, if whoever reaches the top 10 are actually offered to celebrate their artworks in an exhibition. We publish a catalog for them. And like always, there is a first winner, second winner, and a third winner. We also try to organize a yearly international conference where we bring together artists, scholars from all over the world to come to Bethlehem, meet our students and our faculty member, share news, but also share ideas and speak about art. And actually in 2016, as you see here, the topic of our conference was art and resistance. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, we had to cancel this year conference, which was supposed to take place in summer. And we also were planning to have art and resistance version 2, but unfortunately it is postponed. Lots of our graduates are actually now what we call the stars of Palestine. Many of them, and we are very proud, that are being successful in the field of producing art and culture. This is a young graduate, Wissam Al-Jafari, and last year Wissam Al-Jafari film was accepted and received the 3rd prize at the Cine Foundation Film Festival, which is part of Cannes Festival in France. So Wissam Al-Jafari and his team actually attended the Cannes Festival in France. Other graduates, as I said, are also doing art, participating in local or international exhibitions. And some of them are also art teachers. And for me, this is very important because I always tell them, you are the ambassadors of Dar al Kalima. They come to Dar al Kalima, they learn, they train, they are fully equipped on how to use art as a tool of expression, but also as a tool to search their own identity and as a tool to communicate through their artworks with the rest of the world. But I am also very proud of those who go into the teaching, because then they teach a wider audience of the Palestinian community. And through them, through our graduates, I actually find them the hope for us for a better future in Palestine. I don't want to take too long because I would like to introduce one of our graduates, Ibrahim Handal, who is actually a colleague and was a classmate with Wissam al-Jafari, and he was the cinematographer of the film. So I am very proud that Ibrahim Handal could be with us today, and I would like him to talk and to tell you more about the student's life at Dar al Kalima and what he thinks, his point of view about what we are doing, and also what his dreams as a younger generation. Thank you very much.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Ibrahim Handal. I'm a graduate student from the film program of Dar al Kalima, and my graduation project, Bethlehem 2001, got officially selected for world premiere at Locarno Film Festival, and I was also the cinematographer of Ambience. And I hope you like the trailer of Bethlehem 2001.
بتذكر أبوي قال لي امشي جنب الحيطان والحارة فاضية والبسكليتات على الأرض. مشيت جنب الحيطان الحارة كلها عشان أوصل باب الدار والصورة عم ترجع.
Hi. This is my short film, Bethlehem 2001. Also, last year I was with the director of Ambience, Wissam al-Jafari at Cannes. And all these things started when I saw the banner of Dar al Kalima, when I was graduated from the high school, and I was powerfully wanted to become a man who's behind the camera. So I started the diploma program at Dar al Kalima, and I was learning for 3 years at that program because it was really huge program and expand. And after that, during studying, I was searching to make my knowledge even bigger. So I was searching abroad for a bachelor degree in the filmmaking. Luckily, luckily Dar al Kalima had the bachelor degree for filmmaking, but this time it was more specific in directing, editing, and cinematography. So I choose for the cinematography section, and through from 2016 until 2019, last year, I got graduated as a filmmaker and a cinematographer. I was trying all the time to work in short films. If there's some feature films, which give you a lot of experience as a filmmaking student, that when you come back to the university and you start your new project with your students, you start to share the experience. Also, like humbly, I can say that as a local facility which teaching filmmaking, other arts section and programs, we got the opportunity to be selected in one of the most important film festival and share our story as a Palestinian. Because our filmmaking is a kind of art resistance. Also, we share art and stories, light, color, all these emotions that we give to the audience. And nowadays, because of the coronavirus, unfortunately, for the second time, I couldn't even attend my master degree in Czech Republic for the first time because of scholarships, and this year because of all these organizations couldn't pay the scholarship because of Corona. It hit everybody, so I couldn't attend this year. But hopefully, I'm working for the next year to attend a master degree in cinematography. As a student being taught for in a diploma and a bachelor degree, I think I was lucky enough that Dar al Kalima brought a lot of important teachers, and the program, the studying that we were studying, it was really powerful. That it expand the knowledge, it expand our curiosity to learn more about filmmaking and the storytelling, because here in Palestine, we need a good story to share it with you as an audience, and not also the story, also the visual, because we can share a 1 minute short film, but it's have really a great visuals, which is can attract you as an audience. And there is important say from one of my teachers. He told me, if you want to be global, you have to be local. So all the stories that we try to share with with everyone, it's a human stories. The resistance that we share is just really peaceful one, I think, and what our generation trying to say, because I was born in the 1995, for example. So I had a different era from my teachers. I had different experience from what they had. So everything become like we are the next step of our teacher and so on. So it's like we make steps to forward to make the filmmaking much better, the art in general. What I can also say for you that like without Dar al Kalima, we couldn't share any experience of being a filmmaker. We couldn't share anything about the storytelling in cinema. And I think it is a good opportunity that I was one of their students. And nowadays, I'm trying my best to work on the next projects. I'm also working for a feature project and so on. So I hope you enjoyed, and be safe from the COVID, because I think you will enjoy watching some purely Palestinian from young generation. Thank you a lot.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, and thank you so much, Faten. We will open it up now for questions. So again, we would encourage you to place your questions in the chat, and we will be responding on them. So we have a number of questions. We have a question. Are all the post-it notes on the wall behind you, Ibrahim, ideas for a new movie?
Yes, this is for my first feature film. So I'm in the writing process now, and hopefully I will be the cinematographer also for the project, because every project I wrote, I direct, and I do the cinematography side, because I see all the visuals precisely, let's say. So yeah.
Thank you. So there is a question. Please share about the new programs in Gaza.
Okay, I can say a little bit about that. This is also part of our aim to outreach to the whole Palestinian community. And actually, I mentioned a few minutes ago the Ismail Shammout painting competition. We've been receiving many good paintings from Gaza. And I think that was also one of the keys why we wanted to reach out to Gaza, because students from Gaza were reaching us and were participating already in many of our activities, especially in Ismail Shammout Award and Karima Aboud competition also. And there are, more than 1 million Palestinians there. And there are a lot, really very creative artists there who need someone just to help them in a little bit shaping and advancing their skills. So we were able to start a program less than a year ago, actually. And we have like a small location there through which we can organize workshops, cultural workshops, like one of the sessions was about how to price your artworks, but also technical sessions about video art, camera, and how to make it even a better art. Because we very much stress not only the idea and the theory, but we believe that we need a combination between the skills and also the idea to come up with a strong artwork. So we try our best to keep a connection with the whole Palestinians all over the world, and just Gaza is just part of Palestine.
Thank you. Another question. Is the university and its students under any restrictions on the political message that can be conveyed by art or performances?
Actually, after the Oslo, I always say our concern has changed. It is not very much political in that sense, the art that was produced in the 70s and 80s. Because in the 70s and 80s, they were very much stressing the Palestinian rootedness to the land and the Palestinian identity. But today, we are still caring about our identity, but we are using art more as maybe investigating of what is our real identity as a human being, and not only the political identity. Many of our teachers and students and graduates are more and more concerned about their own identity as even a human being, not just political, also as gender issues. And I think also, as Ibrahim maybe tried to tell you, it is more what they are living today and what do they like to establish for the future. We like to look at ourselves as main players who have the main role in shaping our future rather than just being a victim,
Faten?
Yeah.
Yes. We have another question. Why do Palestinian artists choose the unique style of painting people with lines, angles, and disproportion of hands and body?
I don't know which artist he is referring or she's referring to, because actually the Palestinian art today is having endless styles. Every artist is using his or her own style, and not only painting. Some artists are using photography, installation art, video art, performances. But if the question is concerning the art which I showed in the presentation of Slimane Mansour, Slimane Mansour, especially during the 70s and the 80s, He was more concerned about the symbol and the message or the mission behind his art. So sometimes, actually, even Slimane Mansour himself sometimes paints very realistic paintings. But in the 70s and the 20s, I think the trend or the style was more to paint symbolic art. The art that will serve the case, the Palestinian case. And as I said, Palestinian artists looked at themselves as fighters, but they wanted to fight with their art and not with a stone. You know, the Palestinians, especially in the first Intifada, we used to demonstrate in the streets and to throw stones. But artists prefer to paint symbolic paintings that will highlight, let's say, the issue of Jerusalem or our history and connectedness, how much we are connected to Islam. So sometimes they did not really take the realism painting or the realistic style of painting. They prefer the symbolism.
Thank you. There is another question, or many questions. What do you say to someone who says that teaching and making art is not as important as other university fields like medicine or law or business?
Yeah, well, I am an artist myself, as I introduced myself. So this question, I also can answer to it personally. I believe that art is very powerful. And actually, that's why I'm also proud to be an artist, because in one hand, artists are part of the community, and we have a different role than doctors or engineers or lawyers and other. Everyone is important in his and her field, and it's very important to excel. Everyone should excel in his field. Now, the field of art, and as when I started my presentation, it was very important for me to show you how much our art history is long. You know, art actually remains. It represents and it reflects the history of the nation, the culture, and the identity. It is through the archaeological excavations and through artifacts that we know about our ancestors. And I see myself and my colleagues as actually the descendants of this history, and we should keep on going. We should not stop. And I was very happy to hear Ibrahim saying that he is also searching about what he would like to create as a new generation, because they will keep the message and they will keep the Palestinian nation alive for more centuries to come. So I see our role very important throughout the history and also through everyday actions, because through art we can really communicate with a wider audience. I believe that art is a tool, is a stronger actually language than language itself, because through art we can communicate with everyone, even those who does not speak English or Arabic. Art touches the heart as well, not only the mind and not only the language, you know. So I see it as a powerful tool that keeps us ourselves alive, but keeps our story as well alive and living for more centuries to come.
Thank you very much, Faten and Ibrahim. Unfortunately, there's many questions, but unfortunately there isn't enough time to go over. Maybe you're staying for a little bit longer after 7 o'clock after the meeting, and we could address some of these questions. So thank you very much, Faten, and we will be moving now to, and I want to thank everybody for their great questions. We never have enough time for all of the questions, but at this time, we'd like to move to a prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for the vision of the Lutheran Church to offer further education in the arts of the young people of Bethlehem and for the creative talents of all those involved. We pray that the University of Dar al Kalima and for its teachers to continue to inspire the next generation of creative leaders in Palestine. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers. So it is great for us to learn about how art can be used as a form of resistance. But we at Kumi Now believe that knowledge is just the beginning. The reason that Kumi Now exists is to empower people to act on their knowledge. With this in mind, we've created a single advocacy action that anyone around the globe can participate in. It will be posted in the chat and is also available on the website. The action is as follows. It is not a coincidence that many of the Palestinian artists and works of art about Palestine that have never reached the worldwide audience, either live outside of Palestine or are created by non-Palestinians. Palestinian art, for the most part, remains trapped in Palestine along with most of its people. We ask that you help Palestinian art across borders by doing one of the following. Ask your church, place of worship, school, or a community hall to host a screening of a film telling the story of the Palestinian people. Engage with your community in part of the advocacy. If you're unable to find a public space or it is not safe to do so because of COVID, host a film screening in your own home or in the current environment. Host an online viewing or discussion. Give preference to films produced by a Palestinian. In fact, the Palestinian Film Institute continues a stream of free film each week. The link will be in the chat. The current selection in the award-winning documentary Ambulance, a new film, will be available on Wednesday. And a couple of weeks ago, we told about Film Lab Palestine, which recently released a series of short films called Reflections from Palestine during COVID-19, which can be watched on the website. A link will be shared in the chat. And you can take a look at Kumi Now's list of additional resources, which will be shared in chat and is also near the back of the book. For lists of documentaries and films you should be able to rent or buy online, share a picture of your screening or a screenshot of the film you've watched on social media. Tag Dar al Kalima and include a link to the Kumi Now page being shared in chat along with the hashtag Art as Resistance, Kumi Now, and Kumi 45. Faten and Ibrahim, do you have any thoughts about the Kumi actions or other ways that people watching this session can help what they've learned today?
Thank you very much. For those who are in the United States of America, and I've seen in the chat, you also mentioned the Bright Stars of Bethlehem, which is also a fundraising, and it's important because through the Bright Stars of Bethlehem, we try to secure scholarships for our students to be able to study at Dar al Kalima. And thank you very much.
What about you, Ibrahim?
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to speak to you all. I hope you enjoyed the session of Kumi, especially this session because of us. I hope you be safe and take care of yourself, and hopefully one day all the humans can go everywhere in the world. Be safe and hope to see you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you all for being with us today. Next week, we'll be joined by Adale. Adale will focus focus our attention on the discrimination and challenges faced by Palestinian Arab Bedouin citizens within Israel. It is the first of 3 sessions we have coming in September. As I mentioned at the top of the meeting, you will need to register on the website for these September sessions. Please go to Kumi Now online and register. You have to. We hope to see you back here next week. And if you'd like, and if you like what you have seen today, we'd love it if you help spreading the word to friends and family, classes, church groups, and online through social media. Now we've reached the formal end of the meeting, but if you'd like to hang around, our guests have offered to answer questions and chat. This week, we will ask that anyone who wants to speak to please raise their hand. You can do so by clicking on participants on the bottom of your screen. And then on raise hand, I will call on you. and you'll have a minute to speak. We know everyone is busy, so please don't feel obligated to hang around. We'll also be saying goodbye to anyone watching on Facebook and end the recording at this time. Thank you, and remember that together we can rise up.